There's a company that's worth over $2.5 trillion. A company whose products are in the hands of more than 1 billion people around the world. A brand so iconic, it's recognized by just a symbol. A simple apple. But did you know that this tech giant, which dominates the markets today, started in a tiny garage? Yes, the story of Apple isn't just about sleek products or massive success. It's about humble beginnings, unimaginable risks, and two friends with a vision that changed the course of history. Apple isn't just a company, it's a movement. The iPhone alone generates more revenue than some of the world's largest corporations. But none of this existed 40 years ago. Back then, the idea of having a computer in every home seemed like a wild fantasy. The journey to success was anything but easy. Behind the billion-dollar headlines is a story of passion, failure, rebellion, and triumph. This is the story of Apple, how it went from a garage project to reshaping the very fabric of our lives. But before the fame, before the trillion-dollar valuation, there was nothing but a dream. And that dream began in 1976 in Los Altos, California. Most of us have had moments where we feel small, invisible, where our dreams seem ridiculous to others. But how do you keep going when the world doesn't believe in you? For Jobs and Wozniak, this was their reality. The dream they shared was to create a computer that anyone could use, something so simple that people of any age or background could understand. But there was a problem: they didn't have the money to build it, nor the tools they needed. There were no investors behind them, no big brands interested in their idea. It was just the two of them, a beat-up garage, and a deep belief that they could change the world. But who believes in two young guys working out of a garage? At that time, computers were as unattainable as luxury cars. Only big corporations could afford them. So how were these two young men going to make something so revolutionary with so little? And here's the big question. Can success really come from nothing? Can something that begins in the most humble of places touch the lives of millions? The story of Apple answers that question, but not without facing enormous challenges. The first computer they created was called the Apple I. It wasn't like the computers we know today, but it was the beginning of something revolutionary. Steve and Woz worked day and night in that garage, soldering boards, connecting wires, perfecting every tiny detail of their machine. But building the product was only half the battle. They still needed someone to buy it. Steve, with his charismatic personality, started knocking on doors, trying to convince computer stores that what they had was the future. But the reaction was almost always the same: indifference. How do you sell something no one has ever seen before? How do you get people to believe in you when all they see is a strange product made in a garage? The doubt was constant and the rejections painful. But Steve Jobs wasn't about to give up. Then came their first big customer, Paul Terrell, owner of a small computer store called Byte Shop. He was willing to buy 50 units of the Apple I. But on one condition: they had to be fully assembled and ready to use. How were Steve and Woz going to assemble 50 computers in such a short time with so few resources? Was their dream about to collapse before it even got off the ground? what followed was a marathon of work. Steve and was faced sleepless nights, manually building those computers in that same garage. Each computer assembled was a step closer to success, but also a reminder of how fragile everything was. Finally, they fulfilled the order. The Apple I hit the market. And although it wasn't an immediate sales sensation, what it represented was much bigger. It was the start of a new era. Apple had arrived. Success didn't come overnight, but what did come was confirmation that they were on the right path. That even starting in a simple garage, they could achieve what many thought was impossible. But the road to the top was filled with obstacles, and for Steve Jobs, one of the biggest was just around the corner. By the mid-1980s, Apple had grown, but with success came internal struggles. In 1985, Steve Jobs, the man who had helped build the company from the ground up, was forced out. For many, this might have been the end of his story with Apple. But as in any great success story, endings aren't that simple. Steve Jobs didn't just come back to Apple in 1997. He transformed it in ways no one could have imagined. With the launch of the iPod in 2001 and the iPhone in 2007, Apple didn't just change technology. It changed the world. Apple's story isn't just about technological success. It's about passion, perseverance, and an unshakable belief that the wildest dreams can come true. It's proof that it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you're willing to go. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. And let me know in the comments, what part of Apple's journey touched you the most? And which brand would you like to see in the next episode?